It is such a privilege on behalf of the board and the community and alumni to be here to recognize the Andreasens. As Becky May asked me to do this, at first I felt incredible gratitude, and then I realized she really didn't have a choice, as it turns out. There are not many card-carrying, birth certificate-bearing, child and grandchild rearing, nursery school to college graduating, Berrien Springs and Andrews University natives left. So I'm sorry, Dr. and Ms. Andreasen, you are stuck with me. So 23 years ago, a committee was appointed to search for our next president. It was my pleasure to serve on that committee representing Andrews alums. Dr. Andreasen, your name came very highly recommended, actually from somebody who should know very well, as he was a former president of this university, and actually his name is on my diploma. And so I've not shared this really in a public way ever, and since he's not here to complain, I'm going to read this letter. By the way, I think this is on a Selectric typewriter that's probably in a museum somewhere. All right, so here it is. Dear Loren, in answer to your letter, I will make two suggestions for president of Andrews University. First, Niels-Erik Andreasen, currently president of Walla Walla College. To my mind, he is the top candidate for the job by virtue of his training and his experience. He has a PhD in Old Testament studies, has taught that subject in several of our colleges. He has served as a department chair, an academic dean, and of course as a president. He has proved himself to be a prudent man in what he says and in what he doesn't say. He's a good manager and a good executive. He knows denominational policy well, works easily within the church with faculty, students, and alumni. And an important addition, religiously, he's in the middle of the road. That's probably a good place to be. I think he is the best qualified to be president of Andrews University. Now he goes on to give me a second choice in one sentence, and it stops there. I won't add that. But then he has a PS, and I love the handwritten at the bottom there, a handwritten PS. And this suggests, by the way, this is Richard Hamel. It suggests he is not only was a good president, he was a good prophet. I forgot to say of Dr. Andreasen that he is young enough to give a long-term presidency. As it turns out, the longest. Some of the other candidates, such as, and he does a few such as's here, are long in years and could only serve a relatively short time, our age. Well, I'm delighted that, to get this letter, I'm delighted to share it with you, and I'm delighted that he actually prophesied the longest presidency in Andrews University history. So about 22 years ago in late February, those of us on campus were literally on our knees praying for the Board of Trustees as they also prayerfully reflected on their choice for the next president of Andrews. The Board of Trustees selected you, but alas, you had not yet selected us. A few short weeks later, a busload of us picked you up in the South Bend airport and brought you back to campus complete with police escort and flashing lights. You were met with a heartfelt, if not completely subtle, message. Do you remember this? Does any of you have your say yes to button or to Andrews button? If you don't, I'm not giving mine away. So that message was spread across campus. It was on the license plates of the cars that we chauffeured the Andreasens around campus, on the napkins. We want to make sure there was no chance you missed that message. As it turns out, you said yes. On that day, I'll bet you had no idea that you're going to spend the next 22 birthdays right here, the next 22 anniversaries right here, the next 22 Michigan winters right here. And I can tell you, we had no idea. We didn't fully anticipate the 22 years of rich blessings. When you were inaugurated as the new president and as the first couple of this university, I welcomed you on behalf of the alumni. At that time, there were 25,000 of us. I am told that you have added 25,518 and still counting to that number. You must be tired. And as every parent knows, must be proud and a bit relieved. You know this, but your friends gathered here, maybe not. Over the last 22 years, there have been 29,000 individuals that have written checks to Andrews University, giving 137,000 gifts. Those gifts have totaled more than $96 million. The endowments have grown from $10 million to $53 million and another $35 million in estimated estate gifts. And the campus has grown. Your leadership leaves behind an expanded seminary building, the new J.N. Andrews Boulevard, a modernized dairy, a renovated dining hall, DeMazzo Hall, and of course, Nethery and Buller Hall, and of course, this lovely Howard Performing Arts Center. But the two of you didn't say yes over money or over building with bricks. No, and Demetra, in your words, and as quoted in the summer 1994 edition of the Focus magazine, we consider Andrews University the center of the mission of our church. It's always been about the mission, hasn't it? It is so evident in your leadership, and it is so evident in your lives. You too, more than any before you, have worked to connect this institution with the community and the needs of that community. It's why our students volunteer as a part of their required educational journey. It's why you've worked to meet the needs of our friends in Benton Harbor. It's why Andrews grows produce and shares it with those who don't have it. It's why you work to cast a vision and hopefully to build a building to help improve the health of those on campus and those in the surrounding community. It's why you've generously served on the Lakeland board, and of course why this building was built. The alums that have walked this beautiful campus, who have served by this university's caring staff, who've been taught by this university's committed faculty, have a message to share. The board, who you have helped guide to the right strategic decisions and the right path for Andrews University, have a message to share. The community that has been blessed by this university's outreach and has benefited from the rich diversity, ethnic, racial, and culturally, of your students, of your staff and faculty from nearly 100 countries. They have a message to share. Your friends gathered here on this fine evening to celebrate the legacy of your leadership and the warmth of your friendship have a message to share. With all of our hearts, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Andreasen. Thank you, Mrs. Andreasen. To close, I'd like to paraphrase Paul. Now, not my dear 96-year-old Professor Emeritus Father Paul, but the Apostle. Now, I believe this describes how you've led over the last 22 years and how your friends and neighbors feel about you. Niels-Erik and Demetra, you're patient. Niels-Erik and Demetra, you're kind. You don't envy. You don't boast. You're not proud. You don't dishonor others. You're not self-seeking. You're not easily angered. You don't keep a record of wrongs. Niels-Erik and Demetra, you don't delight in evil, but rejoice in truth. You always protect, you always trust, you always hope, and you always persevere. It is so clear to those of us who know you both that your leadership and your lives have been centered around the biblical admonition to love one another as Christ has loved you and to love your neighbors as yourself. It is really no wonder at all that you are deeply appreciated and dearly loved. You have blessed this university, you have blessed our community, and you have blessed us. You have not just left the indelible marks on this campus, you have left endearing memories within this community. May God continue to bless Andrews University and this community that you have so faithfully served. May God continue to richly bless the two of you.